Dear students, welcome to our science episodes. Today we are going to discuss chemical combination. We are going to continue discussing chemical combination. Today we are going to talk about chemical bonds. It's an attraction between atoms of elements to form molecules. Types of chemical bonds: ionic bond, covalent bond. Ionic bond. It takes place between a metal atom and a non-metal atom. The metal atom gives its electrons to the non-metal atom. In the last episode, we discussed that the metal atom will lose electrons in a chemical reaction, and the non-metal atom will gain electrons in a chemical reaction. So, when a metal atom will give its electron to the non-metal atom, an ionic bond is formed between both of them. It's a strong electrical attraction between metal positive ion and a non-metal negative ion, forming ionic molecule. Can you see this atom? It's a metal. It will lose an electron. It will give it to the non-metal atom, which will gain an electron and form an ionic molecule. Of course, the metal atom will change into a positive ion, and the non-metal atom will change into a negative ion. Here is an example. A sodium with 11 electrons. Only one electron in the outermost energy level. It will lose this electron. And the chlorine is a non-metal with 7 electrons in the outermost energy level. It will gain an electron. So simply the sodium will give this electron to the chlorine to become 8 electrons in the outer energy level of the chlorine and form sodium chloride, which is the table salt compound. This is the table salt compound, or the NaCl, the sodium chloride, formed of sodium positive ion and a chlorine negative ion. As a result of an ionic bond, an attraction between the sodium ion and the chlorine negative ion. Another example. Magnesium with 2 electrons in the outermost energy level. It will lose these 2 electrons and becomes positive ion. The oxygen is a non-metal. It will gain 2 electrons to become stable, having 8 electrons in the outer energy level, and changes to negative ion. Simply, the magnesium will give the oxygen these 2 electrons and forms magnesium oxide. Why does an ionic bond result in the formation of ionic molecules of compounds? This is because the ionic bond results from an electric attraction between a positive ion and a negative ion of 2 different elements. And now let's discuss the difference between elements and compounds. The elements are formed of only one element. So the molecules of elements usually have one kind of element. So this is the molecule of hydrogen, 2 hydrogen atoms. Molecule of oxygen, 2 oxygen atoms. Molecule of chlorine, 2 chlorine atoms. While the compounds are molecules of different kinds of elements, like the molecule of water, H2O, the molecule of hydrogen chloride, hydrogen and chlorine attached together. Therefore, the ionic bond results in formation of ionic molecules of compounds because it's an attraction between different elements. So why do sodium and magnesium elements cannot form a compound? This is because both of them are metals. How can a metal react with another metal? Both of them tend to lose electrons in the chemical reaction. So, of course, they cannot form a compound. The sodium will lose electrons and the magnesium will also lose electrons. So they cannot react together. The second type of chemical bond is called covalent bond. And simply, it is the sharing of electrons between atoms. A covalent bond takes place when non-metal atoms interact together. No loss or gain of electrons. Simply, each atom will share the other atom with a number of electrons. Here is an oxygen atom with 8 electrons, 2 and 6. Oxygen is a non-metal. Its atom needs 2 electrons to complete the outer shell. In case of 2 oxygen atoms reacting together, each of them will share 1 electron with the other for the atom of the oxygen to complete its outer orbit with 8 electrons. Together they will form an oxygen molecule. Single covalent bond. It's when each atom shares the other atom with only 1 electron, and we give it the symbol minus. Look to the hydrogen molecule, H2. Each hydrogen molecule will share the other hydrogen molecule with only 1 electron. This is a single covalent bond. Hydrogen chloride molecule. The same idea. The hydrogen atom will share its single electron with the chlorine, which will share also a single electron with hydrogen. So now hydrogen has 2 electrons in its outer shell, and the chlorine will have 8 electrons in its outer shell, forming hydrogen chloride compound. Look to this water molecule. We write water molecule as H2O with 2 hydrogen atoms and only 1 oxygen atom. What will happen is that each hydrogen atom will share its single electron with the oxygen atom, and the oxygen atom will share 1 electron from its outer orbit with every hydrogen atoms. Let's see it together. As you can see, this hydrogen atom with only single electron in the outer shell, this hydrogen atom the same. The oxygen atom with 6 electrons in its outer orbit. As I said, hydrogen will share 1 electron with the oxygen. The other hydrogen atom will do the same. And the oxygen atom will share also with each hydrogen atom 1 electron only. So, 8 electrons will be filling the outer orbit of the oxygen, forming a single covalent bond between the hydrogen and the oxygen molecule. Double covalent bond. From its name, it's when each atom shares the other atom with 2 electrons, and we are giving them this symbol, 2 negative signs. Here is the oxygen atom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 electrons in the outer energy level of each oxygen atom. When the 2 oxygen atoms will react together, they will share 2 electrons with the other oxygen atom, forming an oxygen molecule. At the same time, the outer energy level of each oxygen atom will be filled with 8 electrons. Triple covalent bond. When each atom shares the other atom with 3 electrons, and we give it this sign, the three negative signs. Here is a nitrogen atom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With 5 electrons in the outer energy level. When they will react together, they will share 3 electrons together in order to fill the outer energy level with 8 electrons. Can you notice that atoms, when they share electrons, they form covalent bonds between non-metals? Can you notice that atoms always aim to complete or fill the outermost energy level with 8 electrons? Of course, if they are more than one energy level. But in case of hydrogen, with only one energy level, it always aims to complete it with 2 electrons. Now it's time for questions. Write the scientific term. A chemical bond between 2 identical or different non-metal atoms, where each atom shares 3 electrons. It's a triple covalent bond. A bond that forms as a result of electric attraction between a metal positive ion and a non-metal negative ion. It's an ionic bond. A chemical bond between non-metals when their atoms share electrons of the outer shell to fill the energy level. It's a covalent bond. Identify the type of the chemical bond in the following compounds. Ammonia, NH3. Here is a nitrogen and 3 hydrogen atoms. Both nitrogen and hydrogen are non-metals, so they will share electrons. Hydrogen, with only 1 electron in the outer shell, will share its single electron with the nitrogen atom, and the nitrogen will share 1 electron with each hydrogen atom. Therefore, a single covalent bond will form between the nitrogen and each hydrogen atom. Sodium oxide. Sodium is a metal and oxygen is a non-metal. Sodium tends to lose electrons, so we need 2 sodium atoms to lose 2 electrons to give them to the oxygen. And oxygen will gain 2 electrons from the sodium to form sodium oxide compound. And this is, of course, ionic bond. Thank you. Dear students, thank you for watching and see you later in other science episodes.